So this is the lawsuit of her company over because they violate accessibility. They didn't provide enough accessibility to users, so got sued over it. And this is not for visual impaired user. This is not new in nowadays. It actually become a trend in 2019 because in the world at the moment we have about almost 20% of the population have some sort of visual impairments. What is visual impairment? It can be anything. It can be low vision, which any one of you with glasses, or it's very easy to like learn with glasses, and can working with computer for a long time, or like old people. It's from every aspect of visibility is called visual impairments, and about almost 18% to 20% of the world population is not a lot. It's quite a lot. And actually, in Europe, I believe that a lot of countries already adapted the law to support accessibility for visual impaired user. They forced the company needs to like comply with some sort of visual accessibility, like AA or AAA. You may have heard of it. And in U.S. especially, they witnessed that there were almost 200% increase every year for lawsuit against accessibility. And that's not something that you should ignore as the front-end developer. But it's not the main reason why we're here and why we need to care about accessibility, because some country government does not care about it. Some company may say, I don't really care. But as user, as front-end developer, we do need to care. And that's why I'm here to share with you that, for example, in Target, in US, in e-commerce, this affects the most. Because like in Target, they have to pay like 10 million US dollar for losing a lawsuit against accessibility for blind user, because they didn't provide enough accessibility. And you may argue that, why do I care? I mean, a blind user is not something like majority, but again, it's e-commerce. Everyone have the right to go to go and to shop online. It doesn't limit to blind. It doesn't limit to people with colorblind, which different kind of people. So yes, you don't want to pay that much of money, but you also don't want to let user be left out. So we need to provide. So what is accessibility, and how do we overcome this problem of accessibility? And that's why here. Well, the talk is about Vue because initially we're talking about, I'm using it for Vue because you guys may heard about Vue.js, right? Any one of you have worked with Vue.js before? React? Okay, React guys. Yeah. But okay, we can change it to React your media with accessibility. It's not a problem. So this is me, a little bit about me. So I'm a senior front-end developer in Cloudinary, and I'm also a blogger and Medium, and I'm available on GitHub, Twitter, everything that's social media, like everyone else. I'm also a blogger. I'm working mainly now I'm working in R&D, and I'm in charge of accessibility enhancement for our application. And this talk is about media accessibility. What is accessibility, and what is media accessibility? And what is the challenge that all the users are facing, especially users with visual impairments? How we can solve it? What can we do in order to help the user overcome the challenge? And of course, in the end, you will come home with some sort of a guideline how to develop your own development process to enhance accessibility. So what is accessibility? Accessibility is what users can see or sometimes hear from your app, and then they can understand what it is, like how your app works, what is your app about, and then they will start to use it. So it's like what you see is what you get and what you use. And media accessibility is another layer of it, mean that how you use the color, how you combine the color to get to deliver a message to user, how you combine between text and background images to convey a message or to make the user understand what you're trying to say, or how you adapt, how you enhance your application or your website to work with other external technology like screen reader, voice recognition, screen reader. Basically, visual alternative, because some people cannot see. So you need to make sure it works with other things. So what is the challenge? The first challenge is photophobia. Well, it's not selfie problem, like most people look at this and think so. Actually, it stands for light sensitivity, which is very common, especially for all of us, most of us here, developer working with screen, with the computer screen a lot of times. We have problem in dealing with a lot of contrast and a lot of light coming. So our eyes become more sensitive to the light. For example, any one of you here using light theme in your code editor? Anyone? So yeah, I would be surprised if any. Actually, I don't use light theme anymore. That's one of the example for light sensitivity, because we're working with computers so much time. We're dealing with phones and we're dealing with a lot of devices every day, day by day. So our eyes is very sensitive to light, and us cannot deal with a lot of light. Our eye becomes sensitive to the light at a certain point, and that's why we tend to switch to dark mode. And that's also a reason why Apple, Google, Facebook lately have introduced dark mode to their phone or to the app. Visual Studio Code already have dark mode. The next one is contrast sensitivity, which, like for example, a very white text on a very light background, it's really hard to see here what is written because the contrastness is not enough. And in the opposite is the dark text on the black text on dark background. So this is very sensitive. Like it's different from billboard to billboard, but there's a certain guideline that some color combination is not recommended. And because the contrast is not enough, user cannot read it. And also, in the phone, you have the brightness or less brightness or less. The contrast go up or go down. You can choose the contrastness in the phone and on your laptop also. This means that you cannot really reach the text despite how good it designed. For example, this is one of the very bad design. I found it online when I typed for bad design of contrast sensitivity. You cannot really see what the text written in most of the picture here. Let's say, for example, here, it's really hard to see because it's, say, artificial something, but because the background is too bright and the text is all white. So it's one of the things need to take into consideration. And the next thing is, it's not a problem. It's not a challenge. It's nothing wrong with this photo. The apple is gray. The contrast is good. The contrastness is good. But for a certain group of users, what you see like this, they don't see as we see at red and green. All they see is almost the same color. These people have the pteranopia. They have the problem in identifying between red and green. And that means that if you have a shirt with red and green, they will not be able to understand this is two different colors. In this case, they can more or less guess what the different colors, because they want a little bit darker. But in general, if you gave them the two exact, chart, for example, a chart, pie chart, you saw two different colors, like red and green together, they will not understand what's the difference between those two. Then the next example, how many spices in here? Spices. Can anyone tell me? Yeah, something like that. That's correct. But let's say, what if I'm telling you, if I show you this photo, how many spices you can identify? Assuming that you haven't seen the previous photo. Well, 5, 6. Well, that's exactly people with tritanopia have the challenge to see. They cannot see. They cannot identify between yellow and purple and blue and green. So almost the same. All the color are really a little bit the same here and there. So it's really hard for them to identify how many spices they have here. And here, the color game. How many colors are there in this photo? And can you tell me what color are they? Possible? Gray? Gray and black? No. This is gray. You actually have a good... Huh? I do 50 Shades of Grey. Okay. Actually, all of them is different color. In dark color, oh, sorry. So you almost got correct. This is dark. But it's purple, red, and dark blue, more or less. So people with achromatopsia, which means all they can see is black and white. There's no color, not at all. So if you saw like pink, light pink, it's become white. If they saw dark, like red, it's become black. And which means any shopping experience online is not good at all because they cannot see anything. They cannot understand this is the red shirt or this is the green shirt or whether I'm buying a red shirt go with the green pants or something weird color combination that a normal person shouldn't buy. So yeah, so this is a real challenge for us, for them, of course, but also for us. What about the next problem, the next challenge? Can you see anything here? Is there something here? There's really something here. You sure you cannot see? Okay. Okay. Of course you cannot see. Because this is what plant users see. There's nothing. They cannot see anything. So all of them was black, completely black. Close your eyes for one moment and imagine if you take your phone now and try to go to a shop. Just try to open a website by closing your eyes. See how it works. Like go to Amazon and try to order something without opening your eyes. It's the real challenge. Without voice reader, how would they shop? How would they check a news? How would they be able to browse? That's the planet. So how do we solve it? Well, first of all, I wanted to show you a short video, I promise, about a very nice technology that developed by Microsoft. Okay, sorry.
The app narrates the world around
Can you hear?
by turning the visual world into an audible experience. Point your phone's camera, select a channel, and hear a description. The app recognizes saved friends. Jenny near top right, 3 feet away, describes the people around you, including their emotions. 28-year-old female wearing glasses looking happy. It reads text out loud as it comes into view, like on an envelope. Here, Lawrence, P.O. Box, or a room entrance. Conference 2005. Or scan and read documents like books and letters. The app will guide you and recognize the text with its formatting. Top and left edge is not visible. Hold steady. Lease agreement. This agreement. When paying with cash, the app identifies currency bills. $20 When looking for something in your pantry or at the store, use the barcode scanner with audio cues to help you find what you want. Campbell's tomato soup. When available, hear additional product details. Heated microwave faux-long height. And even hear descriptions of images in other apps like Twitter by importing them into Seeing AI. A close-up of Bill Gates. Finally, explore our experimental features like scene descriptions to get a glimpse of the future. I think it's a young girl throwing a frisbee in the park. Experience the world around you with the Seeing AI app from Microsoft.
So this is the very nice app that Microsoft developed in the last few years that helping a blind user to actually can scan and to use the phone to tell them what is surrounding. And the nicest thing about this app is that it was developed by a blind developer. Like, he's blind, so he developed it. But we don't need to make our user wait for such an innovative product. This is take years to build, and we also don't need the user actually stand up like the developer that stand up and do something that help them. So we are front end. We're supposed to be responsible, the web developer responsible for UI, usability, accessibility also. So what can we do? Wow, sorry, what happened here? So techniques, what can we do about it? For the light mode, the most common solution for light sensitivity, it provides light mode and dark mode together. Like most of the company already did it. And we can also use it like browser. Firefox just announced that they have dark theme for the browser. But for a website, we cannot wait for browser to adapt all those stuff. So what we can do is that we can use filters. Any of you know about CSS filter before? It's the attribute of it's probably a CSS attribute that allows us to apply some filter to the page. In this case, we can actually use filter invert, which is we convert on the color that already existed in the page to exact opposite color, which means if our app on the contrastness on the page will build correctly, like contrast color page correctly in the light mode, what we can do, we can use filter invert 1, and it will just invert the whole app, every color to the exactly opposite color, so we will achieve the dark mode, just simply like that. Like in this case, I'm using only the filter invert mode, and the whole page just turned black without do anything, a lot of works. The only thing is this photo will also change the color, because the filter is apply a layer on top of your page, change all the color, including photo's color, to the exact opposite. So the color of the photo also changed to the invert mode, which it makes the color actually look kind of like this. This is what the color will look like when you use invert. So how do we fix it? The one solution is that you can actually use double invert on the image, which means you can add a layer of invert of the whole app, and then for every image you can apply another invert one for every single image. But then the problem is it will be hard to control. As you know, CSS is not easy to control. And let's say if someone want to change invert of the photo to like maybe add another grayscale, another different type of filter, it will override the previous filter that we apply. So it makes our code maintaining our code is really hard, because we don't know which one. Every time we add a new image, we need to check, or a new CSS filter, we need to check if it's override some other filter or override our filter for dark mode or not. So it's not that ideal. So what can we do about this? Well, one thing we can do is using Cloudinary. I need to talk about it. So let's see. In here I have I built a small example. I hope it works. It should work. Okay, here. So as you can see, this is the photo. And in this one, I'm using Cloudinary plugin for my image. So all I need to do is just to add the effect negate, which equal to double a layer of invert. So if I change to dark mode, the color will already inverted. So here, if you look at if you look at the photo, you can see the photo here, the color is inverted. But the color up here is the real color of it. So this is what we can achieve by using double inverted in combining with the Cloudinary and CSS filter. What else can we do with it? Contrast sensitivity. So in contrast sensitivity, it's really easy to solve this problem. Either we can add a background color to the container, which is this one, the container of the picture and the title. And we can add the opacity of the banner, which is the photo itself, to reduce the opacity of the photo. And then we add the color of the title to make it stronger. Maybe we can also add a little bit of shadow to make it stand out. But again, what if I want to use the same thing and change it to match with black text on the light background? Say if I need to change to the different background. So you need to go to CSS and change it. It's less, let's say it's less, it's problematic. We can actually use the same thing. We can achieve it with CSS variable. We can achieve it with the filter that I talked before. So we just add the brightness as the CSS variable to the filter, and we keep everything else the same. And then on the filter, because we add a layer of brightness, so it will make the background photo lighter or darker, depending on what we want. So this is the pure CSS solution. Or we can use Cloudinary. In Cloudinary, we can also add the filter of brightness, of darkness, to make it stronger or lighter. So if you are afraid of CSS, you can also achieve like this. Because in some case, let's say you need to support a Internet Explorer, filter will not be able to help in this case because it doesn't work on, and also variable doesn't work on Internet Explorer. Not yet. Colorblind, what about colorblind? Well, for colorblind, it's way harder because the only way to identify the colors, we don't have any CSS solution for it. All we can do is add stripes. Like here, you can add the stripe for a cool color and a stripe on horizontal for dark color. And this way, user will know more or less whether these two are different color. But we cannot use any other solution for this because they cannot see color. You cannot really tell them what to see. So don't have any solution, CSS solution. So the only thing you can do is use in Photoshop or any editor and ask your designer to add another version of this and display it when user asks for it, or when the app identifies that user is color blinded. Well, luckily we have Cloudinary. Oh, actually, I love these features. I personally push for these features, so I have to talk about it. So, for example, here we have that. Somehow this one is not correct. No, never mind. So, like for example, in this case, we have the photo. So, if I delete this one and I have assist colorblind, you can see here is add the stripe to the chart. So now you can see really between red and green are different. For now it's only support 2 different color. So it not only horizontal or vertical. So it's only can identify 2 different colors. But in the future we probably have more. But you can try it out. And also I can do something like this. Simulate, I think. Like colorblind maybe. Oh, yeah. So you can also use simulate colorblind to see how the user probably see it as colorblind. By default, it's only red and like the colorblind between red and green. But you can also check more on that. Back to our talk. So that's the solution that we have right now. Either we use in Photoshop, add in another version of the photo, or we can use Cloudinary to add the horizontal and vertical strap on runtime. So it's really dependent on what you guys think would be better for you. For me, I like the feature of Cloudinary. How about achromatopsia? Well, the problem here is that no horizontal or no vertical lines can help because there's no color. They cannot see any color. And especially when you only have one color in the photo, you cannot really help. It would not really help because it doesn't say anything. So what we can do is we have to provide a lot of text, a lot of description, and text, for example, as much as possible. And text is really important because that's where the voice reader will be able to pick up and to tell the user what is this image about. And of course, you also should have as much a description as detailed as possible. Like, what is this color? I don't know what the color of vintage brick red, but I know that it's red. It helps user to know exactly, okay, it is probably red, even though I don't know what is red, but I know that red shouldn't go with this pen. So they have a little bit of idea what are they looking at. By the way, back to our beginning when I talk about Beyonce. So you know why she got sued? Because of this. This is the alt text of her photo, the description of her photo, and the description is 1.31.19. Anyone here understand what it means? What does it mean for this description? Huh? I guess it's the uploaded day for the image. But let's say if you close your eyes and you will rely on the voice reader to read for you the image, you don't know what 1.31.19 means. So yeah, and that's worth millions of dollars. Just a mistake like that. Okay, what other step we can do? First, wide area. It's the guideline, it's the Bible of accessibility. Everyone that wants to have accessibility in your app need to go to this. Need to actually learn about the documentation, need to put area label on your components because it's important. Why so? Because the browser, in order for the browser to talk to voice reader, it doesn't talk together. It doesn't talk directly to the voice reader. The voice reader pick up whatever in the browser based on the wide area, based on whatever area labels or row or anything that were attached to the page in the browser, and then it would deliver to user. Think this way. I'm the browser. I need to have a layer outside of me, And then only then the voice reader can talk to me, can read information about me and tell to someone else. It's not simple. So if you don't have this layer, this one will not understand what is saw in the browser. And because it doesn't understand, it doesn't know how to parse, user will not understand because it cannot. one of the connection is broken, so it cannot. So I know it's hard. Its documentation is very, very bad. I always have trouble myself reading it, but you need to start. Start by something small, like rows, a button, rows at the button. If you don't use the button element, stays like input check or not check, valid or not valid, or radio button or something like press, like button is pressed or not pressed, or on hover or not on hover. There's a lot of state that you can, very simple, just start with something really small and then go and expand more than that. Or properties. The property is hard. Like arrow label by, arrow label. All of the labels is to help him, to help the technology, like the screen reader, to know how this element is called. Like you can have the element called 1, 2, 3, but the label can call I am a button. So the screen reader will read I am a button instead of reading 1, 2, 3. So it's a good way to give some accessibility. For example, here you can have a button and it's called area disabled equal false, which means this button is not disabled. So the screen reader will tell the user that, hey, this button is not disabled. So you can click on it. But do not do this. Don't use a div with the row as the button. The screen reader will be able to pick it up, but it's not a good practice at all. And why? Because in case, for example, two-side, CSS enable, everything looks identical, right? Everything looks great. It looks awesome. But for some reason, CSS is not loaded, slow internet. Sometimes you push to production some CSS file that have one thing that is not correct, and then the whole CSS file is corrupted. It will turn to this. Which side is more readable than which side? In this case, which side is more readable? Because this side, right, is still more like, look, it doesn't look as beautiful as it was, but it's readable. In this side, it's hard for me to know which one is link, which one is headline, which one is subtitle. Readability, no one understands. But if you use according to the element is supposed to be, like if you use H1 for a headline, it will still stay as it is, even CSS is disabled, because it has its own styling by the browser. Like button already have the styling by the browser. Link also. But if you use a div at the headline, it's just a div. It will not have any default styling from the browser, so user won't know it if CSS is disabled. So keep in mind that structure is important for, like, proper structure for your app is important. By the way, this is how it looks in this side, and this is how it looks in this side. So one is using span for headline, one using H1 for headline. We can do anything we want because CSS is really powerful. But again, think about the worst case. Don't think about that, okay, the best case. Because the best case is the best case. Everyone happy. What about the worst case? Text and texture. Text and texture is very important. A lot of description text will tell user what is the message you want to say. Like in this case, if you only have a red border, some user will be able to understand, but still they will not understand why it's in red, why it's an arrow, especially when user with acrotomasia, that when they don't see the color, without the text below, they don't know why the click doesn't work. What did they do wrong? Text is important. Descriptive as it is important. Texture, like we say, is help to identify colors. So also, when designer give us some photo or something, we should also raise the question, what about the user? What about texture? If it really have two colors that are almost similar, we also need to take into consideration. And forget about image worth 1,000 words. Now it's the icon, it worth 1,000 words. Because icon is global, it's simple, and only have one color. It's uneasy to understand. Like if you use the icon correctly, you can see here that we can identify which one is an error, which one a warning, which one is the hint, even without the color, because it itself say a lot of things. The icon is well known by everyone by now. Emoji, for example. But use it wisely. Use it correctly. Because if you use the icon for different purpose than it was meant to be, also readability, no one understands what it is. Like in this way, this is Wi-Fi, right? Will you understand this is IT support if the Wi-Fi? Or what is it? Departments? So yeah, icon is cool, icon is powerful. Use it wisely. Color combination, like I said before, colorblind user, it's really hard for them to see the colors that you want them to see. So when you do color, try not to put these color combinations together as much as possible, because some users, keep in mind, they don't see that you see, and us, we see when we develop. So try to split them away. Don't put them together. Don't give so much hard time for user to see it, to work with it. And what other tools can we do? So we have several tools that I would like to recommend you guys to try out. The first one is ACE, right? Okay. It's a very good tool for accessibility auditing. It's come by default in Lighthouse, but you can install it as a Chrome extension. So it's really good for do a proper auditing for the whole app, and it will tell you exactly what's wrong with your app, like which line, which input it go, like which input is not correct, what the color, what you need to add in this info, like especially for wide area, for area labels. The next one is Accessibility Insights. That's another good project for Microsoft, which I personally really liked. They just released, I think about 4 months ago, that they also do accessibility analyzing, but it's not only limited to Chrome, it's also in other browsers. And it's open source, so you can always contribute to it. Lighthouse is a must. Everyone needs to do Lighthouse analyzing, auditing once in a while, because it not only tells you about accessibility, it also tells you how much score you have performance, best practice, and other things, coverage of your app. So it's good to check. WebHint. This is for the plugin for Visual Studio that when you write HTML code or write in coding, it will tell you on runtime when you write code that your element you created have enough coverage of accessibility or not. And also, it's a plugin on extension on Visual Studio Code if you use in Visual Studio. I believe also on WebStorm. I never used, so don't take me for that. But this is also open source, and they're really good at this. These three, after your app is already built and run, this can go when your app is still in development. So what you type, they will tell you whether you type correctly or not, and give you some hint whether you should add some here, and should add a label or should add a stay, other other information also. And simulator. Simulator is very useful in case you want to check about color blindness. I'm using No Coffee Simulator, a Chrome extension. It gives a general idea. It's not 100% correctly, but it gives a general idea, the simulation of how the app looks, how the image looks when the colorblind user see it. So you can try to test it by turn it on to see how the image look like, whether it's have enough, like it's really appeal to the user enough for them to use. Or if you use Mac, Sim Daltonims is an open source project that an app, a Mac application. I think it's open source, I believe. If you open this is the application, you can open it on top of a browser, on top of a web page, and then it will change, it will simulate for you. The other one is you need to install the extension and turn on the extension. Here, you just open the app and put it on top of like Chrome or browser, and it will show you the difference between the person with colorblind, the person without colorblind. And for my opinion, it's more accurate than the other extension. And finally, several things I would like you to remember. Be proactive, be intuitive. Wow, this word, intuitive. Be really, really proactive think about user before they actually come back to you. Because we're developing that is usable for user. Accessibility is one of the things that is represent usability. Apply Varia. I know it's hard, but it's good for SEO. It's good for screen reader, and it's once you get a habit out of it, it's become easier. But yeah, I know it's hard. But start with something small. Start with writing an element that is like an input and play with it. Try different label, and then you can understand more or less what the label is doing, how you can apply it in which case. Just try. Put a lot of description. For image and text is important. Have to have and text. Unless you want the text to be hidden, you want the photo to be hidden, then you don't need to provide it to provide the untext and description. Let's say if you have an icon and then you don't want the screen reader to pick the icon and read out loud. So in this case, you don't need to show the description and untext, but you need to have area hidden. It will help the screen reader know that I need to skip this element. Pay attention to color combination. And use simulator when you can. Try to simulate. Try to put you at the colorblind user. See how they see. And this, you can understand a lot of things. Test accessibility. You have to test your accessibility. There's no other way. No one can test it for you unless you don't do it. So test it with age, test it with insight, Lifehouse, anything that any tool that you found is useful for you. Actually, now Firefox, just the newest version of Firefox, already have the contracts analyzing built in. So if you hover on the element, it will tell you whether this element have enough contrastness or not. Also in Chrome, and then it will suggest whether you should choose a different color. And rather than in Chrome, it's only tell you whether the contrastness is enough. I think out of 7, or 5 from 0 to 7. And in Firefox, it tell you whether you should replace with different color. And some projects, some links that you can refer. So I have a project called M16Y. It's called Media Accessibility. So our project is to do better documentation for accessibility, build a plugin like with all on the mode like dark mode, brightness, contrast, color blind. The plugin that when you install it, you can attach to your your application, and then it will just make your application accessible for user with color blind, with brightness. So it's already working, but only for Vue, not yet for React. So if anyone wants to make a React version, you're welcome. The demo, of course, some news and update. And yeah, this is just for Vue storefront that I'm working on a project to help them to make sure, because this is the open source project for e-commerce. So I'm just helping them to enhance the accessibility, like check on the components to see whether it's match accessibility or not. So AA is something we have to always try to get. AAA is super hard, so I will just throw it aside, but AA is, we need to get to that point. AA is basically you need to have on the area label that correctly, and then you have to have the text, a lot of text, and then you have to a little bit of support for color blindness, and that's cover. AAA you need to have like transcript on the video, alternative for image, a lot more stuff. What? And that's it. Thank you. Oh. Okay. Any questions? Sorry. Yes.
So, it seems like alt text and description generation is question you had in one of the last slides saying that alt text and description generation is a must. So, an application or a site it's insurmountable task to generate manually the alt text and description yourself. But then if you have, let's say, user-generated content in the form of images uploaded by users or a very large collection of images coming from, let's say, a CMS, then it will be much harder to alt text and description generate. To the extent that, sorry for the long question, but to the extent that you get to the point where you say, if I have a choice between not having alt text and description for all images versus maybe using some automatic means, maybe machine learning or AI, to analyze the contents of the image and generate something that describes the image and gives it a title, but at the expense of maybe not being always accurate, which way would you prefer to think about it?
So the thing is, I prefer that they have a machine learning, the AI do it for me, because sometimes, let's say we have a lot e-commerce website, we have a lot of products, like 1,000 products, each of the products have 4 or 5 photos. Everything like this, if we have to go one by one and add the description and try to figure out what the photo is about, that would be too much. So this is, in this case, automatic generator for description is way better than is preferred. And also, because it's also it's more accurate than human description, because, for example, even if you understand the text, sometimes it's hard for you to generate your own word to write about, like, descriptive to make it clear title for such an image. It seems like when we develop, it's the hardest thing is to name a variable. So it's same thing, like the hardest thing for developer to name a variable or to name a class. It's the same thing. So if it's hard for us to name a variable, it will be very hard for us to decide what text to give into a certain image. So in this case, let's say Amazon recognition or something like Google AI, that can help to generate these things, so should use it. It's actually very accurate. I think we have that one in Cloudinary, right? We have that one. Oh, yeah, you can actually, that's one of the ideas that we can do a plugin that will do for either for VS Code or for Firebase for any CMS, that when user upload a photo, it will try to analyze the photo and add the text, relevant text. But still, it's still on the air, so it's really welcome if any one of you want to have an idea to develop into an open source or a plugin, open source extension or something. Any question? Okay. Thank you.